Step 1. Choose your customer. $1 million business feels impossible to many. It's too big, too bold, and too out of reach. However, I've seen it happen hundreds of times, so I know it's completely possible for any entrepreneur with enough drive and commitment. Since most people don't have that, I am often accused of overselling the simplicity of it. That's why I refer to the first few months of your business as the grind. Until you have a product up and selling consistently, every single decision can feel like a mountain you have to climb. This is especially true at the beginning. If you have no idea what you are going to sell, or you are flat broke, it would be easy to ignore the idea that a 7-figure business is even possible for you. That was certainly the case with my friend Susie Batiz. Susie had been trying to become an entrepreneur her entire life. She'd started and ended multiple businesses in her youth, and then she went bankrupt twice. Her first bankruptcy, at age 20, was the result of a failed bridal salon. She went bankrupt a second time at 30, having tried and failed to launch a website that matched recruiters to job applicants based on corporate culture. Like all born entrepreneurs, though, she kept trying. But the next idea wouldn't hit her until she was in her mid-40s. It happened right under her nose when her husband stunk up the bathroom. Sometimes, your own biggest problems are signs for very profitable solutions. It seemed too odd to work. What if there was a way to get rid of the lingering smell in a bathroom after going number 2? She started experimenting with fragrance oils, and she soon discovered that odors could be eliminated when her magic potion was put in the toilet before you pooped. After a few improvements, she put her magic potion into a spray bottle, and the idea for poo-pourri, before you go, spray was born. It was a good idea, and the product worked. But she had one problem. How do you market a product that no one has heard of before? Who's the target customer? After all, as every parent of a toddler who has read that certain kid's book over and over again knows, everyone poops. Susie got some quick sales by giving the product away to friends and asking for reviews. She gained some traction by word of mouth, and she had a small distribution network in boutique shops. Sales were initially extremely slow, and she feared yet another failure. However, that all changed when she identified her audience. Susie's target market wasn't men who stunk up the bathroom, although I'm sure she wished it were. It was women like her, who were tired of embarrassing situations. That was the moment that poo-pourri took off. She filmed a video for the product that featured a prim, English-accented young woman grinning into the camera like a sweet young Mary Poppins while sitting on a toilet, delivering the classic opening line, "You would not believe the motherload I just dropped." The video was funny. It was timely. It predominantly featured the product. And it absolutely exploded. Within days, poo-pourri had launched into the public consciousness, and it quickly became a sensation. Within a few years, poo-pourri had done more than $400 million in sales. That was enough to undo all the fears of failure that had been brought on by multiple bankruptcies. Susie's success is one of the reasons why I brought her in to speak at the Capitalism Conference. Something special happens when you meet someone like Susie and discover she's just like you. Suddenly, things you thought were impossible no longer seem so far away. Susie is a great example of an overnight success story that took 20 years. Today, she appears on Forbes's lists and is a sought-after keynote speaker. What I most admire about her is her ability to inspire entrepreneurs to use their entrepreneurial power to do something that really matters. While Susie started with a product idea, her business crawled until she identified the person who would want to buy it. Once she centered her brand on the person, not the product, her business was off to the races. That's why, when someone asks me, "What product should I sell?" or "How do I sell more product?" I always answer, decide who your customer is first. Focusing on people, not products. Back when I started out as an entrepreneur in 2006, no one taught me how to target a person. I discovered it the hard way, and it took me 10 years of failed entrepreneurship and overwork to finally understand that you can't really be happy unless you're doing something that benefits other people. To put it in business terms, you can't be successful until your work is valued by someone else, which is why starting with the person is so important. I learned to hand code websites in middle school, using the shared computer in our family living room, on dial-up, no less. Being so plugged into the internet from an early age meant I knew how to do other useful internet things, like basic search engine marketing, internet advertising, and plugging into internet communities, before social media was a thing. In college, I discovered that I could create pages for products, get them to rank on Google, then run Google AdWords to drive traffic to the site. This was before Facebook, before Kickstarter, and before Amazon turned into the behemoth it is today. Even without any of those tools at my disposal, I did pretty well running this hustle from my dorm room. Other kids at school knew I had a successful internet business, and they thought I was hot shit, and, honestly, I thought I was hot shit, too. That all ended the moment I graduated. I had a way to make money but no clear life path. As a result, my internet business, something I had considered a side hustle, not a career, suddenly felt empty. Sure, I was making enough money to live on, and even invest, but there was no direction to it. There was nowhere else to take the business, and no way to grow it. On the one hand, I had solved the problem so many of my classmates were facing: how do I find a job? How do I make a living? I had money. But I had no purpose, and I had no true skills to scale. It seems like an overreaction looking back on it now, but at the time, I felt like the world's biggest failure. All that time and money spent on college, and I was. What? A guy who sold random products online? An internet traffic manipulator with absolutely no idea what the hell I wanted to do with my life? Yes, I recognize that I had a serious case of first world problems, but I felt horribly lost. One day, I got an email about a meetup in Austin, Texas, for hustlers like me. It was a 3-day event about internet traffic and advertising. I had nothing better to do, I had never been to Texas, and I was looking for direction in my life, so I decided to attend. While I was there, I met other entrepreneurs who were selling way more than me. But they were doing something different, they had real businesses, not just side hustles. On one of the breaks, I approached the leader of the summit and asked him for advice. "What would you do if you were me?" "You know what I would do," he said. "I would sell real stuff. Real products." It was a huge, aha, moment for me. And the thought of going back to my apartment and staring at a computer screen all day, alone, sounded empty. I decided that I absolutely must be around people who were thinking bigger than me. With no relationship or responsibilities keeping me in one place, I sold almost everything I had, packed the few possessions I had left into the Kia Sportage I'd proudly purchased brand new a few years prior, and drove to Austin, Texas. I rented an apartment, sight unseen, on a month-to-month basis, and 6 weeks into my life in Austin, I signed a year lease. I was there to stay. I met a sweet girl at the grocery store. I tried my hand at a bunch of different businesses, thinking that eventually I'd find something I wanted to stick with. A year into my new life in Austin, the greatest forcing function known to man dropped into my lap. I found out I was going to be a dad. It's incredible how fast a plus sign on a pregnancy test can spin you from lost and depressed to, "I have to figure my life out, now." Until this point, I had been bouncing around, trying my hand at any business opportunity that came my way in a search for purpose and deeper meaning. But that day the plus sign on a pregnancy test announced I'd soon have a daughter named Esther. I decided to put all of my effort into one business model, this one. In a way, I was lucky, my hand was forced. I didn't have the choice not to go all in. Many of you reading this book are probably stuck at the point right before you get into the game, where you have to pick what you're going to sell. Perhaps, like me, you've dabbled in a dozen different business models, and nothing has stuck. There's a common startup model called, scratch your own itch, and it involves finding a problem you yourself have, solving that problem, and then allowing that solution to form a business. That's what inspired Susie to start Poo Pourri. For years, I did the opposite of this. I sold whatever I could to make money. I did that because it was what everyone on the internet said to do to get rich. They weren't wrong. I made money. And I picked up some useful skills over those years. But there's a difference between making money and building a real business. You can sell things and make money, and your business will be purely transactional. You can follow a formula that produces profits, and it can work for a while. But once you start thinking about people, you start building a real business. If you create something that people actually want, and you communicate to the person, you can create $1 million business in 1 year. That's how you become a real entrepreneur. You're going to eat it for a year as you build to $1 million business in the next year. It'll help you to know the following up front: you're going to eat it for that entire year. In the first year, you're going to be working for very little money, not drawing a salary, and reinvesting every dollar, until you have $1 million business at year's end. By then you'll have a proven concept. Until then, you're figuring it out. Fortunately, I'm giving you the path to help figure it out within the year time frame. Without a deadline in place, it's easy to get trapped in passive, it'll happen when it happens, style thinking, and that won't serve you. This chapter is about the foundational decisions you need to make to go all in. What is your business? Who is your customer? Knowing the answers to these questions will get you where you want to go faster, so you have to eat fewer shit sandwiches. This chapter is not just about going all in without a plan. It's about the thought process you'll need to go through to come up with the business you want to go all in on. You have two ways you can go with this. You can make decisions based on what will bring in short-term cash flow. Or, you can ask yourself, what is going to bring me the right customers, which will lead to a profitable and acquisition attractive business? There's a difference between looking to sell a product and acquiring a customer. Famed business author Peter Drucker said the two functions of business are to get customers and to keep customers. When you take a sale online, is that getting customers, or keeping them? Most people would say it's the former, but it's a trick question, it's neither. If they buy on Amazon.com, then they are Amazon's customer. If they buy at Walmart, they are Walmart's customer. They're not your customer until they know who you are, and they choose to come back to you. Who do you serve? I get dozens of messages a day from entrepreneurs, and the most common question I get from people new to the startup process is, what product should I sell? To figure out the answer to this question, you first need to understand you're building a brand, not selling products. Ask someone to define the word brand. They're likely to throw out a lot of descriptions: a cool name, a distinctive logo, a website, a great customer service touch they received. Those are all characteristics of a brand, but they're not the foundation of what a brand is. A brand isn't a logo. It's not a fancy website or a pack of sponsorships. A brand is trust. A brand is an expectation that the customer will be happy with his or her purchase. A brand is something built by creating a group of products that all serve the same person. My buddy Matt and I both went through serious personal transitions in our late 20s, and we did so at around the same time. As such, we had a shared mindset. We were starting to look toward more adult goals, such as health and longevity. A big component of both our lives was a focus on our health, me, even more so, because by then I had a daughter for whom I wanted to stay healthy. When it came time to build a brand, we didn't spend a long time wondering what kind of person we should serve with a line of products. We simply looked at our own lives and asked ourselves what we wanted. The answer was incredibly specific. We both wanted a pre-workout supplement that was both effective and free of all the crap that was in every other pre-workout supplement on the market. It's important to note that we didn't set out with the intention to start a business we were passionate about. Neither of us was passionate about pre-workout energy mixes in any way. All we were doing was developing a product that solved a pain point for us. We were scratching our own itch. While you don't have to build a brand to serve yourself, it's a good way to start. Knowing your own problems makes it easy to brainstorm solutions. If scratching your own itch doesn't turn you on, think about the people you hang out with. Your friends, your family, people at work. Once you think of enough distinct groups, a defined customer will start to reveal him or herself. For example, I know a lot of people who tried to make money selling spatulas on Amazon. A few of them did well, but most of them got crushed. Why? Because there are only so many ways to sell more spatulas. But if you know a lot of moms, and you want to honor the fact that busy moms still want to take an hour to cook for their children, then you can create a series of products for that person. One of the products might be spatulas. You start there. Then you can make a line of products that serve those moms. Suddenly, by starting with people instead of products, you have a brand. People are what make you money, not products. Think of it this way. A product is a one-time transaction. But a brand says something about a person. It tells a story that goes beyond the product. That kind of power leads people to buy multiple products and tell their friends about them. If you're just selling random products, you're robbing people of that story, a story about themselves. You're getting sales rather than getting customers. And sooner or later, your business will come under threat by the next person who can sell your product cheaper, faster, or slightly better. In the case of RXBAR, founders Peter Rahal and Jared Smith didn't start out with a burning desire to get into the already flooded protein bar market. They did CrossFit, were friends at the gym, and were dissatisfied with the protein bar options available to them. So, with an incredibly focused customer in mind, their friends at CrossFit, they created a protein bar with, absolutely no BS, aimed directly at CrossFitters. Starting from a basement headquarters making the bars themselves, they built the brand around their customer avatar, put the ingredients on the front of the packaging, rather than in small print on the back, and watched their product explode. 4 years later, they were acquired by Kellogg for $600 million. It's important to define your customer around someone you know well. Don't pick a group of people you know nothing about unless you're prepared to do a lot of research on them. Make sure you can identify at least one pain point shared by the group, and how you can serve that pain point with a collection of products. So, just because you've heard that Gen Z high school students have disposable income does not mean that you should target them as your customer. More than likely, you have no idea what that group wants or needs. Who are the people in your life? You know what they want and need. Once you've identified your person and their pain point or way to help them, it becomes much easier to identify 3 to 5 products that can kick off your new business. A word of warning, the absolute worst thing you can do is ask yourself, what products are super popular right now? For example, I can't tell you how many people I know chased fidget spinners or tried to sell diet supplements. Both trends exploded brightly and, sure, some people made some money, but they couldn't build a business, because fidget spinners are a one-off product that don't serve a direct person, and diet fads change every year. Those people thought they had a business, but what they actually had was a short-term cash flow machine, and most of those sellers are out of business now that their flash-in-the-pan fad has fizzled out. If you only think about products based on what's hot right now, you'll eventually be threatened by a mass of competitors, and that's when profit margins get squeezed. Amazon can be the best place to get started selling products, but if you just look at what's selling on Amazon and try to sell that, you'll struggle to build a real business. Why? Well, if someone else sells the same product for $30, you have to sell yours for $28. Then the next person will price his or her product at $26. Now there's a race to the bottom on profit margin. When you start with people and create products for them, you become a price setter, not a price follower. That gives you better profit margins. And you get repeat customers, rather than one-off sales. How to choose a winning product? If you have a person in mind, it's easy to discover what products he or she will buy. It used to be that to sell products, you had to develop them from scratch and do a lot of guessing. Companies had to spend thousands on research and development, and then spend millions marketing them via television, newspaper, magazine, and radio ads. After all that, they would then hope and pray the customer would buy the products. There wasn't much else companies could do to affect results or drive growth. But today, you don't have to guess. You can know if a product will be successful from the very beginning. Sales channels like Amazon aren't just a way to get eyes on your product, they're also a research goldmine. Right at your fingertips, you have access to all the data you need about how much a product is selling and what customers are saying about it. Just search for the products your person buys, look at what other companies are offering, and pay attention to the reviews. This helps you zero in on exactly who your target market is and what their needs are. What don't they like about this face cream? What's wrong with that Instant Pot? What are their pain points? How can you improve upon what's already being offered? Check out Kickstarter and look at projects that raised $1 million. Go to Amazon and find the best-selling toilet paper. Watch Facebook ads and see what companies are being talked about. You can do this kind of research on any channel where you're thinking about selling, or simply by paying attention. Your job is to identify 3 to 5 products that your ideal person might buy. You don't need to worry about how to make it or how you will sell it, we'll fix that later. Just brainstorm what your person already buys and potential things he or she might like to buy. People who do yoga buy mats, towels, and blocks. That's 3 products. What else might they buy? Clothes, travel cases, or yoga pillows? Do people who do yoga buy other things, too? Like tea, meditation cushions, or essential oil? And do people who do yoga have different shopping habits than others? Do they buy organic, or avoid synthetic skin creams? Write it all down. You don't need to worry about how you're going to do anything just yet. Just know that the internet has opened up opportunities for anyone who wants to create something from scratch. Anybody can do a Kickstarter campaign. Anybody can sell on Amazon. Any website can rank in Google. Anyone can run an ad on Facebook. Anyone can post on Instagram and connect with any influencer. Your job is to find out where your customers are, and drop your bait into that pond. Identify your gateway product. Once you've thought of a target person and are brainstorming at least 3 to 5 products that make up your brand, your next step is to start narrowing down the first product you'll sell. I call this the gateway product because it's the first in a series of products you'll eventually sell. I like to ask the question, what product will make my target customer want to buy more from me in the future? The first product that a yogi buys is a yoga mat. Then he or she buys everything else. So the first product I sold under my yoga business was a yoga mat. One of the first products that a new gym rat buys is a pre-workout product. Then he or she buys everything else. Whether it's yoga mats or sports nutrition supplements, your gateway product represents the first obvious transaction for customers in that space. It addresses an obvious pain point and solves a simple problem. Once the ideal customer has the first product, they are likely to buy other products from the same brand. Even if your gateway product is the same as everyone else's, you're going to communicate in a way that's specific for your target market. Remember, you're not just selling a product. You're creating a message. You're taking something that's already there and crafting a story that's tailored to your customer. 2 people can buy the same product for completely different reasons. Somebody who's buying gloves to work in the garden might buy the exact same gloves for woodworking or going to the gym. Their preference would be to find a brand that speaks directly to them. Put simply, customers want to buy into brands that are going to serve them over the long term. You're not just selling workout gloves. You're selling to people who work out. This is non-negotiable. Dave Asprey from Bulletproof Coffee is my favorite example of someone who did this extremely well. Dave started as a humble blogger who wrote about productivity and health optimization. He built a reputation by defending the health benefits of coffee and encouraging readers to add fats and oils to their morning brew. A few years into his journey, he launched his own coffee, Bulletproof Coffee. That was his gateway product. Is his coffee special, compared to other coffees? Some say so, because it's made just for them. It's organic, certified mold-free, and twice the price. If Dave had simply wanted to start another coffee company, his second product would have been something like a dark roast or a new flavor. But Dave had his attention on something bigger, and he had 3 to 5 products outlined from the start. The second product he launched was a coconut-based MCT oil to go into your special brew mold-free coffee. Then he launched lactose-free, grass-fed ghee, also to add to your coffee, to slow the absorption of caffeine, which gives you even energy for several hours. Then it was protein bars, then whey protein, then upgraded MCT oil. Now Bulletproof is a biohacking company worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Dave had 3 to 5 products in mind from the get-go, all of them designed to serve his target market. That's very different than just selling coffee. Like energy bars, the coffee market is incredibly saturated, but it becomes far less saturated when you serve one of your target market's pain points. Upgraded Coffee, reads Dave Asprey's blog, uses a proprietary bulletproof process to create coffee that is tested to be lower in mold toxins that inhibit human performance. Bulletproof focused on the pain preventing its customers from being high performers. As a result, everyone from CEOs to professional athletes to busy parents started buying from Bulletproof. What did these different groups have in common? Simple, they wanted higher performance. They were all Dave's target customer. People buy products that say something about themselves. Paying twice the price for Bulletproof Coffee versus the competitors says that the person is a high performer. On the other hand, drinking Black Rifle coffee, which we mentioned earlier, says you shoot guns, or that you don't care about the opinions of other people. The product, coffee, is almost exactly the same, but the person is completely different. Compare that to one of my friends, James. James was a sportscaster on ESPN who left his job to become an entrepreneur. For several years, he wondered what type of business to start, until he started listening to my podcast. One day, he was running on the beach while listening to me outline the path to $1 million, the same process you're discovering right now, by the way. He stopped mid-run. "I think I can do this," he said. James had previously struggled with sleeping at night until he discovered the source of his challenges. The light from being on his computer late at night was causing insomnia. James found the solution in wearing blue blocker glasses, which filter high-energy visible, HEV blue light, when he was on the computer before bedtime. They helped him sleep, but they were ugly as all get out. Pain point alert. So James developed the solution. He decided to make glasses with the same blue blocking function that didn't make the wearer look like a dork. He noticed that competitors were selling blue blocking glasses for about $8 a pair. Most people would balk at the low profit margins, but James created a brand that was specifically for insomnia sufferers. That allowed him to charge a higher price and have the profit margin needed to create a great product. The product did extremely well. Customers loved it, and he built a brand that people were proud to show off. However, the company ran into a challenge. What does it sell next? Its next product was a different style of blue blocker glasses, and it bombed. What happened? Well, James had bought into the belief that he was selling glasses, not helping people with sleep problems. He had focused on the product, not the person. He needed to discover that he was a sleep company, not a glasses company. Once that was solved, it was easy to come up with 3 to 5 new products that the company could sell. That changes everything. It's tempting to fall into the trap that your business sells products, because that's where the money comes from. But products are bought by people, and you must know who they are if you want to hit $1 million. The foundational questions when my friends hear about my students' successes, they often reach out and ask to pick my brain. In most cases, they have a series of questions before they feel comfortable taking action. 2 of my friends, Carly and Carly, invited me over for lunch one day. They were setting out to be entrepreneurs, and they needed help clarifying their first steps. As soon as I was done chewing, they started firing questions at me. This happens a lot, I'm used to it. When it came down to it, every question in the barrage they threw at me amounted to, what business should we start? I went through a few options with them, and, by dessert, they had a solid idea that they were really excited about. When I left, I knew they were on a good path with a clear direction. The next time they invited me over for lunch, they wanted to update me on their progress. I couldn't wait to hear how their new business was going. As soon as I got there, however, question hour resumed. Ryan, what business should we really start? Here we were, back to square one. They had no prototype, no audience, and no proof of concept. They'd been stuck spinning in place because they were waiting to be told what to do. What I helped them discover was that there was no perfect product or right business to start. Instead, there's simply a set of decisions you need to make. Once you make these decisions, you'll have a good shot at success. But until you make these decisions, you'll be stuck in analysis mode forever. Again, you don't need to know how to do anything. We'll go into more detail on the process throughout the rest of this book. First, you must make decisions. It's also okay to change your decisions later, but answering these questions will allow you to start to move down the path to your own $1 million business. 1. To whom are you going to sell? You start by identifying your person. It can be you or someone you know, but once you identify them, look at what group of people they belong to. Are they CrossFitters? Do they eat a paleo diet? Are they nurses? Are they Christians? If you don't know the answer, start with yourself. What groups do you identify with? 2. What do they already buy? Can you list at least 3 to 5 products that your group already buys? If you can't list at least 3 products, you're in the wrong market. At this point in the process, it's really tempting to make up a product idea from scratch, but I recommend that you start by identifying what your person already buys. Just start writing down what your person already buys on their journey to be a great mom, a great entrepreneur, or a great designer. 3. Which product out of that suite of products do you want to focus on, to either make a great version of it or a version that solves one of their problems? Looking at the list of products you came up with, ask yourself, how are those products not serving my group right now? Does one of them jump out as a potential gateway to the rest of the list? If you identify the first product that solves a pain point or serves as a gateway into other purchases, then you know exactly where to start. 4. What does your group think about similar products on the market? If you have a group of products you're thinking about focusing on, you can start to identify holes in the marketplace by listening to what people are already saying. Read customer reviews and look at internet forums. You can also start vetting your idea by posting about it online. My buddy Moaz tried using Tom's natural deodorant, and he hated it for a simple reason: it didn't work. He thought, I wonder if I could do this better. So he started asking questions on online forums, getting feedback from other natural yuppies like him. From the response, he knew there was interest. He did a $500 round of prototypes and sold out immediately. That was the beginning of Native Deodorant, which was later acquired by Procter & Gamble for $100 million. It took Moaz only 18 months to go from a $500 prototype to a $1 million brand, and it sold for 9 figures. 5. Where does your person hang out with others? With an idea of what we might sell, we can start to think about where our first customers might come from. It's much easier to make sales when you can drop your product in front of a group of your ideal people. Does your target customer listen to specific podcasts? Do they follow certain influencers? Do they belong to specific groups? Do they read certain blogs? Brainstorm where your ideal customer focuses his or her attention, and you will quickly know where to put your product in front of them. In the next chapters, you will also learn how to develop a micro-audience that is ready to buy your product from you. I also like to write down the names of 10 friends who will get excited about a product because your ideal customers know other people just like them. 6. Do you know how you will get predictable sales? I don't mean to overwhelm you just yet, but your sales process has to be scalable. For most people, Amazon is the easiest place to start. We'll cover that later. Unless you have a different way to collect sales consistently, then Amazon will be your starting place. 7. What will be products 2, 3, and 4? Do you know what your follow-up products are going to be? If you don't know what else you might sell to your person, then you're not ready to move on. Your job will be to roll out products for that same customer as quickly as possible and as fast as you can comfortably handle them for the first year. Having an idea of your subsequent products will put you far ahead in the process. When Matt and I started Sheer Strength, we went through the same process, and asked ourselves the same questions I'm asking you. We knew our group because we were our group. And we knew that people in our group bought protein powder, creatine, and pre-workout and post-workout products. We bought workout bands, BCAAs, drinks, gym memberships, and workout clothes. We identified our gateway product and brainstormed the rest of the list. Other companies were successfully selling similar products, and most people probably would have avoided that market because of the competition. But those other companies had done a bunch of research and development for us. They'd already vetted the idea and shown that people were buying the product. Matt knew the names of a couple manufacturers, so we emailed them and ordered samples for our gateway product, an endurance supplement. The samples were all fine, but they were boring and mostly the same. This was our chance to add our unique spin. We wanted to add in one ingredient, beetroot extract. We'd done some research and found that it was particularly helpful for endurance. When we tried it, it made a massive difference for us, and nobody else was putting it into their formulas yet. Today, beetroot is a common ingredient in similar products, probably because we pioneered it. However, we knew that we didn't want to be just an endurance supplement company. Since we were developing the products we wanted, we made a long list of other products we would eventually want to sell. If the first product took off, we'd know exactly what we could sell next. Our first product sold okay, but it was nothing special out of the gate. It took months to get to about 25 sales per day, and that's when we rolled out the next line of products. Remember, it only takes 3 to 5 products that each sells about 25 sales per day. That's $1 million business. Having ideas circling around in your brain right now is a really good sign you're ready to move forward. If you're not there yet, it would be a good idea to answer the list of foundational questions. See page 36. But anyone can sit and kick around ideas all day. That's the easy part. The hard part is deciding to take the risk of actually bringing that product to life. The hardest part is getting past the head noise. What will my family think? What if my product sucks? What if I get a negative review? While I will help you with the how to, you have to go all in on getting through the mental hurdles. It's time to make a decision. Are you willing to go all in? Entrepreneur Spotlight. Jared Springer. When Jared Springer stumbled across my training for entrepreneurs, he was at a low spot in his life. Recently born with clubbed feet, his son had terrible medical issues, which put Jared in a lot of debt. Then, to compound things, Jared started developing his own medical problems. One day, he was rushed to the emergency room unable to walk. Apparently, a large nerve running down his leg was completely pinched. Doctors told him, "You either have emergency surgery, or you never walk again." At the time, Jared, who was 30 years old and married with 2 small kids, worked in management and sales. Suddenly he found himself in a walker with a long road to recovery ahead of him. This was when Jared came across my videos. Having plenty of time on his hands, he watched every single piece of content I put out. Then he did all the action steps. Jared was fired up to launch a business. There was one major problem: he didn't have the money to start a company. He was still in recovery, in debt, and unable to work. He had to hustle and grind his way to success. He started flipping random products to get enough money to invest in his business. Once he had a little bit of capital, he developed his first product. In the end, his first product was a failure. Instead of giving up, though, Jared went back to basics and began building a Facebook following. He focused on the person, and he got them to follow his page, which ultimately swelled to 60,000 followers, adding some of them to an email list as well. That's when he started testing out different products. Just before Christmas, he found a little robotic dog bank in which you put a quarter in its mouth and it chomps down on it. Right away, he knew, I can sell that. He knew his person so well that he knew that this off-the-wall product would be successful. Prior to this, his business had been struggling, operating in the red. But when he talked about his product on Facebook, it caught on, and things started to take off. Orders began coming in quickly, so quickly that his orders exceeded his inventory, and he had to start taking pre-orders. He wired $40,000 to a supplier in China for additional product. Up until recently, that had been a year's income for him. As I tell people over and over again, when you follow the process, your biggest problem won't be a lack of sales, but possibly too many sales. Then the unimaginable happened: his inventory order got tied up in customs for 2 weeks. He'd originally had plenty of time until Christmas, he'd even paid for the shipping to be expedited via air freight. But now none of his orders would be fulfilled in time. He threw a Hail Mary, called the manager at FedEx Customs, and told her that if it wasn't on a truck the next day he would be bankrupt. Incredibly, this worked. She got the shipment on a truck that night. Even so, Jared was running out of time. If he didn't get people their orders, he would have to refund their money, but he had spent all of the money on advertising and ordering the product. There was no money for refunds. It was a week before Christmas, and he had 5,000 orders to ship. Each item had to be quickly boxed and shipped to reach its destination on time. Since there was no time to send them to a fulfillment warehouse, he had to do it himself. So Jared had thousands of units shipped to his house in the middle of winter in Wisconsin. He stayed awake for days printing labels and organizing shipments. The FedEx truck backed up to his house and dropped the pallets in the middle of the driveway, just as a snowstorm was about to hit. Jared and 15 friends frantically packaged and labeled them in just 6 hours, right up until the moment they were picked up to ship to their destinations. It was Jared's mindset, his willingness to grind in the early days of his company, that kept him going. Failure was not an option. In the end, Jared made a couple $100,000 in a few short months that Christmas. It was the first product to launch the Happy Poupine brand into profitability. 1 year later, the brand had brought in $1 million in revenue. Now Happy Poupine is a 7-figure operation that's currently about to be sold for a big payday. Most people think you need tens of thousands of dollars to get started, but you can get there with just $1,000 or less, Jared told me. The money isn't the obstacle. The truth is that 90% of the battle is getting your head right and just pushing through all the obstacles, no matter what. You have to make it your mission to find a way. Jared's obstacles didn't end that sleepless Christmas. To this day, competitors copy his ads, and even his products. Some of them are total scam artists who take orders with no intention of fulfilling them. When I first started, I'd get so angry at the scammers, but that wasn't helping me, he said. Now, if I see someone copying my stuff, I immediately get my lawyers involved and send a cease and desist. It's part of the game. I've learned to just deal with it. To Jared, being an entrepreneur is an up and down emotional roller coaster. You have to get your mindset right, he said. You'll have really big wins, you'll be doing awesome, and then something turns on a dime and knocks you back down. You have to train your mind to make those peaks less dramatic, so you can flow through it. This was Jared's biggest struggle. For a while, he was either on top of the world or he felt like everything was falling down around him. Once he built up the mental fortitude to realize that there would always be ups and downs, it all got easier. The moment Jared really knew he'd made it was when he bought a brand new truck, a Ram Rebel with huge 33-inch tires, and took his family on a month-long vacation. At that moment, I felt like it all became real, Jared said. All the hard work and grind had given me the kind of freedom I'd always wanted. I remember thinking, this thing really works.